How many of you love change? Oh, come on, Carl left the room, didn't he? You don't have to put those hands up. Yeah, what we found about people that love change, the following is usually true. I understand the change. I believe it's needed. I'm bought in. It's the right thing to do. I'm engaged. I know how to make the link between what I do and where we need to go, and I can get my people engaged. That's how most people like that type of change. How many like this type of change? You better get out there and make it happen. You better roll that new system out. You better get them to change. How many like that type of change? Yeah, you like that type of change. But think about often what the job is of a leader or a manager or a supervisor. And he's sitting in on the examination table. My wife and I are both in there. The doctor walks in, and he looks up at me and says, "Dad, ladies can't be doctors." I said, "He didn't get that from me." I said, "Nick, women can do anything they want to do." And his response was, "Oh, okay." That belief shifted instantaneously on better information. The only reason I tell those two stories is every one of us in this room, you have beliefs about you that reside on both ends of that continuum. And some of them you don't want people to have about you as a leader because they're holding you back. Accepting ownership for it, no matter what it is, we own this. Creating a solution, what else can we do? That's the solve it question. What else can we do? And putting it in play, exercising action. Those are the 4 keys to accountability. Recognize, accept ownership, create a solution, put it in play. That's what highly performing people, highly performing teams do. They don't let anything stop them. Why did you push back on me when I just pushed on you? You wanted to. It's human nature, gang. I'll tell you what, when you push something on somebody, it is human nature. They will push back if they don't understand, believe, buy in, and if they're not engaged, they will push back. And that's what you see. How many times have you had to roll a new process or system out and you get this pushback? It's human nature. How many of you like to be told you have to change? How many of you are married? It doesn't work so well. You're always thinking to yourself, what else can I do to get the result I want? Think about anybody you know in your personal life or professional career who seems to always exceed and achieve what they want. They're always thinking that. I don't care whose fault it is that I'm in this situation. I don't care what the barrier or impediment is. What else can I do to get to the result I truly want? It's about ownership. How much do you really want it? It's very easy to get sucked there down below the water playing the blame game. It's like I talked about, it's a gravitational force that pulls people there. It's like a crystal clear turquoise pool. All your buddies down there sucking down margaritas saying, dive on in, this is great, nothing we could do, not our fault. It's easy to go there. It takes a lot of internal fortitude to realize when you're playing the blame game and taking the keys to accountability to move forward. That takes a lot of internal fortitude. On the count of 3, I want us all to clap so it's one gigantic, simultaneous, thunderous clap on the count of 3. Are you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3. Now, you knew what I was doing, and I still got 75% of you. Here's the point. Were you following what I said or what I did? People are going to watch what you do. Words are cheap. One more thing. Do this really quickly. Right index finger out. As fast as you can. Point to your chin. Do you feel the confusion in the room? Multiply that by 1,000, and that's often the confusion we create within our organization. Call Aunt Jen and thank her for the card. I thought I heard you say, I guess I don't have to thank you. I said, you realize the golf shoes and the rollerblades, that's from Mom and Dad. The card said, from Mom and Dad. And he looked up at me and he said, well, you didn't sign the card. And I said, what? And he said, just like this, you didn't sign the card. And at that moment, I wanted to say, you ungrateful little son of a... Do you realize how busy I am? You know how hard I work. You know blah, 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 blah. Instead, I bit my tongue. I wanted to practice what I preach. Went back upstairs, finished packing, come back down. He's still there. I said, hey, Nick, what did you mean when you said I didn't sign the card? And he said, well, Dad, evidently, I'm not important enough for you to take 10 seconds from your day to sign this yourself. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And he wasn't saying it to be a smartass, excuse my language. He's a thoughtful, considerate kid. He gets that from his mother. So let me ask, where do those beliefs come from? This guy gets a gold star. It's your experiences, it's your lifelong experiences, not just your career and your professional, but your entire personal life as well. So we have 180 people in this room right now. Each one of us has had a different life. Therefore, we have all had different experiences, and ultimately, we all have a different set of beliefs. And those beliefs drive our actions. What's your name, sir?
Ben.
Ben? Okay. You sure?
I think so. I'm still working on the apps.
He's still got. So Ben, no right or wrong answer here. What's the difference between activity and results? Okay, Ben. What was this? I like it. Shout it out, Rich.
Activity doesn't matter if you don't get the results.
Activity doesn't matter if you don't get the results. I like that. Any other comments here? Yeah, we would say this, that activities or actions people take that lead to results. So let me ask you this. Does all activity produce a result, Walter? Yes, it does. Walter got it right. Most people say no. This guy's a genius. Because even if I do nothing, do I get a result?
Yes.
You damn right you do. It's not the result you want, though, right?
No.
We tend to think of only the positive outcomes of taking actions. The reality is, the results are the desired and undesired outcomes of taking actions. So the only reason I put that up there is we want people focused on the result, not activity. Activity in and of itself will not necessarily produce your desired result. All right, so let's do that again. How many saw 3? Still 3. You 3s are clinger goners, huh? 4. You 4s just have not changed a bit. 5. A lot of 5ers out there. And 6. About the same. 3, 4, 5, 6. One more time, gang. Here's what I want to point out. I'm going to talk about this while you're looking, because those of you, just bear with me for 1 second. I'll point them out to you in a second. Guys, just bear with me for just a second. I'll point them out to you. The key is this. I can leave that up there, and those of you that saw 3 first, those that saw 4 first, those that saw 5 first, you can look at this all day long, and you just won't see the other ones. You won't. And the point is this. Individuals, we hold on to our truths with all the force we can. And if we believe that we don't have to change, guess what? Not enough force in the world will get you to change. We all looked at that paragraph, and I showed it 3 times, and all of us stuck on what we knew because our own truth is so important to us that we're not open to seeing anything other than it. There's actually 6. Now, the reason I put that up there is because when you were communicating your direction, your vision, your opportunity, you just saw what's up there. Say we put out a memo, and that was the memo where we're going, and look at the misinterpretations you had here in this room. You had 25% of the room seeing 3, 25 seeing 4, 25 seeing 5, 25 seeing 6, yet you wrote it, you know what it means. Why isn't everybody aligned? Why aren't we all going after the 6? Because there's 6. And it's amazing because I was one that fell into 3. I saw 3 the first time, and it was left up on the screen, and I couldn't see them. When you go up to 11 to 20 new goals, in addition to maintaining the operation, everything becomes one conjumbled mess to your organization. There is no difference, when you're at 11 to 20, there is no difference between the new goals and the whirlwind. Everything is the whirlwind. In fact, when you go to 11 to 20, you abdicate leadership of any strategy to the whirlwind. You are no longer leading anything. In fact, you are now managing and maintaining the whirlwind. Has anybody tried to put a system to the process? Anybody see 2 lines, 3 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines? Good luck. How many have in their mind, as you're kind of on chaos right now? What happens to your mind when you're on chaos? It tends to shut down, right? All right, so what I'd ask you to do is with the new system, By the way, anything you used or wrote down or took pictures with your phones, which I saw, you can't use it. So flip over any notes. Now on a clean sheet of paper, flip your other one around. I need you to write down this number using the new system. Using the new, and by the way, if you get this right, you get to keep your job. So it's kind of funny because trying to get a senior team aligned around what are the one or two things right now, it's not an easy thing to do because there's a lot that's important. And sometimes it gets into these value arguments. Like, don't forget why we're in business, it's bottom line, people. And some say, hey, what about top line? Some, hey, we're all about quality here. No, what about customer experience? No, it's safety. Have you ever had to tell somebody that their loved one lost a finger? It's not a values argument. For example, in the airline industry, what's the most important thing in the airline industry? Safety. It's critically important, right? It's not a good WIG or wildly important goal. You know why? They already do it really well. It's the value they hold most dearly, but it's not a good, wildly important goal because they do it well. It's critical, it never goes backwards, but it's part of their whirlwind. It's part of that balanced scorecard. When the light comes on and there's a problem, they fix it. But they do it well. They don't need to apply the principles to it. The mindset here is if everything holds in the whirlwind, if everything holds, the life support, everything we're doing, which is vitally important, what's the one or two things now that moves us forward? And that's where we go after and execute flawlessly using the 4 principles. Brand you. Every one of you in this room has a default brand. In other words, it's just how people view you. We all have a default brand. And we achieve that brand based upon the experiences we create for people around us. If you want to know how people truly view you, here's a challenge. Most people don't do this. But if you want to really know how you're viewed by your friends, your family, your peers, and your boss, go out and ask 10 people, 5 at work, 5 in your personal life. Ask them for 5 words that come to their mind when they think about you. Collect all the words from the 10 people. You'll have a total of how many words? 5 words from 10 people is what? There, you guys are on, you're awake. So you'll have 50 words. Look for the common themes. That's your brand. That's how people see you. Some of us will collect those words. You'll look at it and you'll say, hey, that's what I was hoping for. That's what I wanted. Some of us will collect the words and there'll be stuff on there that you're thinking, wow, I don't want people viewing me that way. Do you see when we put some process and a system around that change, your mind's almost released. And you say, I get it. It makes sense. I'm in. I can do this. That's what exemplary leaders will do for their people. They will paint such a crystal clear picture of the future, of where we can be, that people will dive in and suck it up and say, I want in. How can I help? You create a want to environment rather than a have to, a pull versus a push, a get to rather than you're forced to, a commitment versus compliance. Effective leaders paint such a crystal clear picture of the future, your people will suck it up and they'll want to be involved.
As you know, the first rats off the ship are the strongest swimmers, and what I mean by that is in many organizations, when there's that fear-based culture where there's a lot of stress and anxiety, though your top players, your best talent, your key talent, can typically be the first to leave, and you don't want that to happen. The other downside of a burning platform is you're actually burning away your infrastructure, and once the platform's burned.
Right.
So when we focus on the
Your assets
positive and the
disappear.
possibilities, it's, you know, people naturally come to work wanting to excel and do well. And we can give them clarity on what's the opportunity, not only for the organization, but how it's going to impact them personally, how it can benefit them, how it can make their lives better. People tend to really grasp onto that, and they will become I'd like to say that our work actually allows people to self-actualize.
The issue here, as a manager, supervisor, or leader in this room, when you look at that model, where do most managers, leaders, and supervisors focus? On the nevers. Don't do it. You're wasting your time. They're not going to change. And the more you focus on them, the more damage it does to your potentials and maybes and your models. Where's the opportunity in that model? It's the maybes. They're on the fence. That's the group that if you can get them to buy in And if you move that bell shape just 5 degrees to the right, has exponential impact in any culture. You get some of those maybes to become models, man, you're going to accomplish some amazing things.
Smart people like to figure things out. How will we make something happen? What are the strategies and the tactics that we need to have in place to achieve what we need to achieve? And rather than creating urgency around those tactics and initiatives, they tend to get very detailed on those tactics and initiatives and push it out to the organization and expect that everybody is urgent around those specific
Because it's so logical.
Anytime the majority of your people behave a particular way, the majority of the time, the problem is not with the people. It's with the systems and the processes, and the leader has to own that. There are special causes. You may have some nevers. People are stupid, lazy, defiant, just refuse to buy in. But for the most part, if the majority, most of your people are behaving a particular way the majority of the time, it's not the people. It's the processes and systems, and you as a leader better own it.
So John, there's great leaders who have audacious ideas, and a big key for them to allow those ideas to see them through fruition is to get people to buy in and see what they see.
They have to.
And a lot of that can't be done with the logic, because you don't have the logic behind what you're about to attempt to undertake. So what do you see? And for example, I'll give you a quick idea. When Steve Jobs recruited John Scullion to help with Apple, the story I heard, and it may not be true, was that, do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugar water, or do you want to make a dent in the universe? That appeals to the heart.
Oh, no question about it. I mean, if the idea is big enough, and you see this with the Apple, you see it with the Netscapes, you see it with lots and lots of these astonishing stories, there is no way to get people to buy in by showing them enough numbers, by showing them enough data. It just is, it won't, you can't make the logical case for something that's just over the top.
Biggest obstacle standing between them and the results they truly want is the behavior of other people. Changing your own behavior, easy or hard? Hard. Changing someone else's behavior, easy or hard? Even harder. What if they know there's something in it for their best interest? Still hard, right? How about changing the behavior of a whole lot of other people?
So John, we're often asked from organizations that we work with and the leaders that we communicate with, when do we know that they need to move from change management to change leadership? And what typical advice do you give to those folks?
Well, it's a good question. You're right. We're often asked that. I think number one is to do an accurate count of how many people are going to have to really change what they do. People underestimate that, of course, all the time. They say, 50 of our managers are going to have to, and you push them. And then, well, okay, yeah, a lot of people in the sales force are going to have to do, and IT people, and you start adding it up, and it's a much larger number. If you do that honestly, I think when you cross maybe 20% of the total population you're dealing with, it starts to become shaky on just doing the change management stuff. I know we talked once, and you threw out a figure that was bigger than that, right?
Yeah, I would say 20 to 50%. When you 20 to 50% of those in your organization are going to have to do something substantially different, or will be impacted by the change.
You're moving into the change leadership.
Yes.
I think another indice is simply that you're doing change leadership in a sophisticated way. You actually are spending more money on it, you're bringing in more expertise, tools, and yet it's not working.
And oftentimes we just know that when the stakes are extremely high, that's another indicator.
Yeah. At a certain point, stakes are high. Almost always that means more people have to change. And that brings us back to change leadership. And people underestimate the stakes involved in a rapidly changing world. I'm convinced all the time. They run the economic numbers, the kind of the psychological numbers, if you will. People are underestimating the stakes associated with change.